Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Learn Season 1, Episode 3, Free Code Camp Edition. And today we're going to do colored markers. And I don't really know what that's called, but that's what it says on the Free Code Camp fucking thingy on the homepage. So we're going to do that. We're going to name the episode that. Let me just timestamp. It's fucking 35. Now let's move on to the trivia for the day. Here you go. The trivia I have for today is again something I did not know, a question that popped up in my head, and I thought about gears. I remember talking to my cousin about gears before, and he told me that gears are actually very sophisticated, and so they would have come later on in like the history of the world, I guess history of technology. But actually, he's wrong, or at least this is how I understood it. The first gears actually came about in like 3000 BCE, and they were made of wood, and they originated in China, I believe. Um, Gears are pretty fundamental to like technology and mechanical engineering because of this bottom text. They allow us to control speed, direction, and force in machinery, ranging from tiny watches to massive industrial equipment. So, think cars, think forklifts, think, machinery, think hydraulic press, think mining equipment, um, giant scaffolding stuff, gears. Gears are everywhere. So they're pretty important. Um, yeah. Again, like, to me, what's surprising about this is that we came up with gears very early on. At least relative to what I was expecting. I was thinking like it would have come out in Bronze Age or something. Anyways, um, let's start coding. Gonna close this now. 220. Okay. So responsive web design. This is what we are doing. And if you scroll down, so these ones to the check are the things we've done so far. And there's heaps to go through. And in my spare time, I checked like fucking reviews for FreeCodeCamp, and some people say it's not that good. Some people say it's amazing. I think that I think I might have heard this from either Andrei Karpathy from OpenAI and Tesla. He's the senior technician, senior engineer for their AI sticks. Or was it Andrei Karpathy? I think it was Andrei Karpathy, and he was talking about the 10,000 hour rule. Like, stop focusing on what you're learning and just learn. Just do. So that's what I'm doing with FreeCodeCamp. This is just the first of many things I am going to do. This is just very beginner friendly, and I guess low effort. Low effort in the sense that all you have to do is put in effort and time to achieve this. So this is quite low hanging fruit. If I can't do this, how you do simple things is how you do all things. So like how you do small things is how you do all things. So yeah, okay. Let's start this project. This is what we're gonna build. What the hell is that? 3 markers. Okay. There's a fuck ton of like. Okay, whatever. Okay, let's do doc type HTML. Doc type HTML. I think that's how I do it. Add a doc type. I think it's like that. I'm trying to remember. Equals? Fuck. Fuck. Okay, let's search doc type HTML. So I was right. No, fuck. I'm missing this. HTML lang. Yeah. It's English. Check code. have an opening tag. Okay. Your HTML should have a closing tag. Choking. Yep. Nest the head element. H1. Within the HTML element, yep, it's already nested after the head element. Okay. Just after the head element, add a body element. Okay. Whoa. What the hell? Body. You should have an opening head tag. Oh, head, not header. Ads. Oh well. Dude, I got freaking sunburned. I was out in the calisthenics park for like 3.5 hours with no sunblock in New Zealand. Holy shit. I feel like radiation poisoning. 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 Damn. Poisoning. Fuck. I'm trying to like talk clearer and with less of an accent, you know? So it's easier to understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to sound like a fucking Marvel superhero from America. Captain America. Anyways. Remember that the title element gives search engines extra information. Also displays the content of the title element 2 more ways in the title bar when the page is open, in the browser tab for the page when you hover on it. Even if the tab is not active, once you hover on the tab, the title text is displayed. Within the head element, nest a title element. Call it colored markers. You can't see it, but now I'm pretty sure the page has the title colored markers. So we Gucci. A car set. Okay. Inside the helm, nest a meta element. Meta car set UTF-8. Just like that. And I'm pretty sure it's a void element. Yep, it was a void element. You can have multiple meta elements on a web page. Each meta element adds information about the page that cannot be expressed by other HTML elements. Add another meta element within the head. Give it a name attribute. Meta name equals viewport and a content attribute. Content width equals device width. Initial scale equals width initial scale equals 1.0. Now you're ready to start adding content to the page. H1 with the text. Okay, H1 CSS color markers. Bam. In this project, you'll work with an external CSS files to style the page. We've already created styles.css for you, but before you can use it, you'll need to link it to the page. Nest a link element within the... Sorry guys, I'm just scratching my back. It's itchy. Ooh, and I need to fix my posture. Holy shit. It's giving me issues. Nest a link element. Okay, we already created style sheets for you. Whoops. But before you can use it, you'll need to link it to the page. That's a link element. Okay. We'll put it on top to make it clean. And then relation the style sheet. Style sheet. href. Else.css. So this line is kind of saying like we're linking a style sheet, and that style sheet is this. It's void element. Now that your external CSS file is set up, you can start styling the page. Here's how to target the paragraph element. Oh yeah, I remember. It's gonna be p like that. I wasn't even looking at the freaking thing. It's not even equals. I'm just built different. Okay, fucking create a new CSS rule that targets the h1 element. Set its text align property to center. Text align center. Now you'll add some elements that you'll eventually style into color markers. First, within the body element, add a div. We're back to HTML. First, within the body element, add a div. Okay. Div. Div. Set its class to container. I think it's class equals. Make sure the div element is below the h1 element, but below. Oh shit. Oh, I don't like how I did that, but it should work. It should fix itself in the next one. Next, within the div element, add another div. Give it a class name marker. Next, within the div element. Okay. Div. And close it. Just like that. It's time to add some color to the marker. Remember that one way to color an element is just a keyword like black sign or yellow. As a reminder, here's how to target the class FreeCodeCamp. Yep, okay, so we're gonna go to the marker class. We're gonna set some rules for it. And make the background color red. Nothing happened yet. But we've already made this background color of the marker red. Okay. The background color was applied, but since the marker div element has no content in it, it doesn't have any height by default. In your marker CSS rule, set the height property to 25. Width to 200px. Nice, we have a red square, a red rectangle. And your marker would look better if it's centered on the page. Easy way to do that is with the margin. We're gonna do auto. Set the margin area of elements separately with properties like margin top, left, margin shorthand makes it easy to set multiple margins at the top at the same time. To center your marker on the page, set its margin property to auto. This sets margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and margin left all to auto. Okay. Margin auto. Bam. Now that you've got one marker centered with the color, it's time to add the other markers. In the container div, add 2 more div elements and give them each a class of marker. Okay. In the container div. Oh. You can just do this. Well, you have 3 separate marker div. They look like one big rectangle. You should add some space between them to make it easier to see each element. When the shorthand margin property has 2 values, it sets margin top and margin bottom to the first value. Yeah. When the shorthand margin property has 2 values, it sets margin top to the first value, margin left and right to the second value. Okay. So it's gonna go 10px first and then auto. Okay. The first value is top and bottom. Yep. Interesting. To give the markers different colors, you'll need to add a unique class to each one. Multiple classes can be added to an element by listing them in the class attribute and separating them with a space. For example, the following adds both the animal and dog classes to a div. Okay, so something can have two classes. Okay, elements can have two classes. If you add multiple classes to an HTML element, the styles of the first classes you list may be overridden by later classes. To begin, add the class 1 to the first marker div element. Okay, so we're gonna end up separating them. Yep. Marker 1. Move the background color property and its value from the marker CSS rule. Yeah, just like that. Then create a new CSS rule that targets class 1 and set its background color property to red. Create a new CSS rule that targets, okay. Dot 1, do that. Background color red. Nice. Add 2 and 3. Create CSS rule that targets class 2. 2. Green. We're going to be using RGB, I'm pretty sure, because it's digital. Easy way to do this is the RGB function. Create a new CSS rule. Targets class container. Background color. RGB 00. Wow. Nice. A function is a piece of code that can take an input and form a specific action. This CSS RGB accepts values arguments for red, green, and blue. Understandable. In the one CSS rule, replace the keyword red with RGB. Yep. Yeah, going back to what I said earlier about the frickin' 10,000 hours rule, I think it actually means a lot because a lot of people are so neurotic about what to do in today's society because you have the freedom to do anything that they just end up doing nothing, which is definitely not a. It's probably one of the worst things you could do, to make no choice because the choice is hard to make. Not making a choice is a choice, you know. Not taking care of yourself, not educating yourself, not being self-aware, not trying because things are hard or inconvenient. Yep. So make choice and take your time. Be patient. Okay. Notice that the background color for your marker is still red. You set the value. Yep. You set the other colors. Okay. Just wants us to do the RGB for these. Red, green, blue. So 0, 2, 5, 5, 0. RGB 0, 0, 2, 5, 5. Just like that. Well, the red and blue markers look the same, and the reason why I'm so comfy with like this is because I used to use Photoshop a lot, and I've seen RGB codes a lot. The green one is much lighter than it was before. This is because the green color word is actually a darker shade, and it's about halfway between black and the maximum. Okay, so just make it half. I prefer the highlighter green. Now add a little more vertical space between your markers and the edge of the container element they are in. In the container CSS rule, use the shorthand padding property to add 10 pixels of top and bottom padding. Okay. works similarly. Okay, so padding 10px0, then just like that. So what is the difference of padding and margin? I think margin is to the top and the vertical and horizontal space from the walls, you could say. And then padding is to other elements, maybe. Like, it's kind of going outwards, whereas padding is going inwards. It's hard to explain without a freaking image to visualize it. Additive RGB model. Primary colors are colors that, when combined, create pure white. For this to happen, each color needs to be at its highest intensity. Before you combine colors, set your green marker back to pure green. For the RGB function, in the 2CSS rule, set green back to max. My god. Wait, so what's the point of this? Create pure white. For this to happen, each color needs to be at its highest. Okay. Now that you have the primary RGB colors, it's time to combine them. For the RGB function in the container, set the red, green, and blue values to the max of 255. Huh. Secondary colors are the colors you get when you combine primary colors. You might have noticed some secondary colors in the last step as you change the red, green, and blue values. To create the first secondary color, yellow, update the RGB function in to combine pure red and pure green. Okay, like that. Combine pure green and pure blue. Combine pure blue and pure red. I think this is pink. Yep. Magenta. Now you're familiar with colors. Create the tertiary color orange. Update the RGB function in the 1CS rule so that the red is at the max value. Set green to 127. Nice, orange. So that green is max value, blue is 127. So that blue is max value, red is 127. Blue is at the max value, red is 127. These colors are more pleasant for sure. There are three more tertiary color: green, azure, and rose. Ooh, rose. To create chartreuse green. Okay. Red is 127, green max value. Green is 127, and then the other way around. Azure, also very nice. Microsoft. RGB, 255, 127. Very nice. Now that you've gone through all the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors in a color wheel, it'll be easier to understand other color theory concepts and how they impact design. Remember that the RGB functions use the additive color model where colors start as black and changes as the values of red, green, and blue increase. What? Right. 1, 2, and 3 adjust the values in the RGB function so that the background color of each is set to real black. Oh. Color wheel is a circle. Two colors. Okay. Set the red value to the max of 255. And the Okay, like that. Notice that the red and cyan colors are very bright right next to each other. This contrast can be distracting if it's overused in a website, and can make text hard to read if it's placed on a complementary colored background. Better practice to choose one color as the dominant color and use its complementary color as an accent to bring attention to certain content on the page. What's the point? What is it saying? Choose one color as the dominant color. Use its complementary as an accent. Okay, that's basically all it's saying. Background color, RGB. What am I doing? RGB. Cyan. Next, to black. One CSS rule. Make this one red. Notice how your eyes are naturally drawn to the red color in the center. When designing a site, you can use this effect to draw attention to important headings, buttons, or links. There are several other important color combinations outside of complementary colors, but you'll learn those a bit later. For now, use the RGB function in the toCSS rule to set the background color to black. Boom. And in the H1 CSS rule, remove the background color property and value to go back to the default white color. Now it's time to add other details to the markers. Starting with the first one. In the first marker div element, change the class 1 to red. Like that. Update the one CSS rule to target the new red dress. Red class. Oops. And it's so crazy to think that we're only 3 episodes in. I've learned so much. I've become more comfortable, like a million times more comfortable writing HTML, CSS. So even if this is not a, freaking throw me to the deep end kind of approach, and how do I say this? Like, throw me to the deep end approach. Also, fuck, let me like bro talk. 28 0 0 0 0. Fuck. Okay, as I was saying, like, even though this isn't really coding on my own, I'm not building my own website from scratch. Even, these are the training wheels. This is getting me comfortable just being on the road, and just the muscle memory and looking at the code, understanding what the code does, in isolation, working together. The bigger picture is forming in my head. This will help me. This is just the, boring bullshit, the wax on stuff before I do the real work. So, no stress. 28, 29, let's say. Okay, update RGB function is the red CSS rule so that the red value is at the max. Change class 2 to green in the second marker div and class 3 to blue in the third marker div. Oh, yep. Green, blue. Update the CSS class selector to .2. Okay, let's make this green. Let's make this blue instead. Then it's gonna ask us to fix our shit. Bang. I'm not even reading. I just know what it's gonna be. Oh, hex colors. Fuck, okay. Decimal base 10, which should go from, or base 16. Yep. Hex colors, it's 0% FF is 100%. So translates to 0% green, red, 100% green, 0% blue. Lower the intensity of the green by setting the value of the hex color to 7F. Like that. Hue, saturation, luminance, 0 to 360. Percentage, blah blah blah. If you imagine the color wheel, hue is at 0 degrees, 120, 240. Saturation goes from 0 to 100. Lightness goes from 0 to 100. Okay. Okay, we're gonna make this, set the hue to 240. Set the saturation to 100. 100? Is it 100%? And then lightness to 50%. Uh, 240, 100%. Oh, HSL. There you go. Nice, okay. You've learned a few ways to set flat colors, but you can also use a color transition or gradient on an element. A gradient is when one color transitions into another. The CSS linear gradient function lets you control the direction of the transition along a line and which colors are used. One thing to remember is that the linear gradient function actually creates an image element and is usually paired with the background property, which can accept an image as a value. In the red CSS rule, change the background color property to the background. Okay. Good, there you go. Linear gradient actually creates an image, usually paired with the background property. Okay. Whoa. Very flexible. Here's the basic syntax you'll use. Linear dash gradient, this. Okay. Gradient direction is the direction of the line used for the transition. Color 1 and color 2 are color arguments, which are the colors that will be used in the transition itself. These can be any type of color, including color keywords, hex, RGB, or HSL. Now you'll apply a red to green gradient along a 90-degree line to the first marker. First, in the .red CSS rule, set the background property to linear gradient. Okay, let's remove all of this. Linear gradient. Pass it the value 90 degrees as the gradient direction. 90-degree gradient direction equals 90 degree. Let's see if that works. No. Maybe set background property to linear. Maybe just like that. Okay. Yeah, that automatically knows. You'll use RGB for the colors of this gradient. In the linear gradient function, use the RGB function to set the RGB 25500. Your .red CSS should have background property with the value linear gradient 90 degree. No comma. Okay. You won't see gradient yet because the linear gradient function needs at least 2 color arguments to work. In the same linear gradient function, use the RGB function to set the second color argument to pure green. bump. Oh, wait, no. RGB 0255 0. There you go. That looks like shit, but that's gotta do what you gotta do. As you can see, the linear gradient function produced a smooth red-green gradient. While the linear gradient function needs a minimum of 2 color arguments to work, it can accept many color arguments. Use the RGB function to add pure blue as the third color argument. You know, one thing that I noticed, one thing that I've noticed with the English language is when do you say the and when do you say the? I feel like I have a tendency to say the when I feel like I'm I want to choke over my pronunciation of the, but I'm pretty sure the is like the standard, you know what I mean? Third color argument to the linear gradient function. Okay. Pure blue as the third. Oh, okay. So we can do like multiple. RGB 00255. Ew. Ah. Oh, I see what we're gonna do. We're gonna frickin' if the markers are going left to right, like they're pointing horizontally, we're probably gonna color it top to down. You know, so 180 degrees. Um, and then we're gonna give it the impression of like ambient occlusion by making the top and bottom darker, and then the middle. Color stops allow you to fine tune where the colors are placed along the gradient line. They are a length unit. Red to black takes place at the 90% point along the gradient line, so red takes up most of the available space. In the linear gradient at a 75% color stop. I'm gonna say like after the first color argument. Okay. Like that. Yep. Look at it. Now that you know how the basics of how the linear gradient function, all the color stops work, and just remember, guys, like we're working on the style sheet. We haven't changed our like HTML file at all. Anyways, now that you know the basics of how the linear gradient function and color stops work, you can use them to make the markers look more realistic. In the linear gradient function, set gradient direction to 180 degrees. Okay. Set the color for red to 0%. Set the stop color stop gradient to 50%. Set the blue to 100%. Whoa. You'll apply different shades of red to each color argument in the linear gradient function. The shades on the top and bottom edges of the marker will be darker, while the one in the middle will be lighter, as there is a light above it. For the first color argument, which is currently pure red, update the RGB function so that value for red is 122. Okay. 122, 74, and the value for blue is 14. Yow! Sorry, give me a sec. Let me pause the video. Okay, I'm back. 39 minutes in the clock. Where were we? Okay, let me see. Which is currently pure red. Update the RGB function 122. Green 74. For the first color argument, I see. Okay, 122. Shit. 122, 74, 14. 14. Now modify the second color argument in the linear gradient function, which is currently pure green. Update the RGB function so the value for red is 245, the value of green is 62, and the value of blue is 113. Could have just given us a list, to be honest, instead of making it like 3 separate freaking things. 27, 27. How do I scroll over to the edge? 162. And the green CSS rule, change the background color to background. Yep. Use the linear gradient function. Set the gradient direction to 180 degrees. RGB 5568 0D, like that. And I'm pretty sure this is hex. Oh, hashtag. No parenthesis. For the second color, I'm pretty sure this is called a hash symbol, not hashtag. Hashtag is on Instagram and Facebook. But anyways, for the second color argument, use a hex color code with the value 71 for red, F5 for green, 3E for blue. Okay. F71, F5, 3E. Oh my god, another bro talk. Okay. In high school, I was never a smart kid. I was never an athletic kid. I was pretty much, just a very average or below average kid. I was telling my friend, like, oh yeah, the teachers probably thought I was fucking retarded. And, like, physically inept as well. But then I realized, like, oh shit, like, to be above average, like, way above average, I think the environment and the exposure and your life choices can easily carry you out of that. Not easily in the sense that, oh, it's a cakewalk, but definitely like genes or where you start, like your starting hand matters a lot less than you think for most people. Of course, if you're an African kid born into a freaking war against the government, then like okay, you're kind of fucked. But if you're an average kid who gets a good school and you have parents and you have a roof over your head, it's like yeah. But I guess the problem is like understanding that you have a choice, understanding that walking away isn't always an option. Just knowing that you have choices to make. Yeah, bro talk over. Looking better. Needs to be a bit darker. Yep. Hex color with the values. Okay, because we're only on the third color. Right. We will do 11, 60, 41. Ah, I see. There's a bit of blue because there's a freaking blue thingy below it. Genius. Remove the 3 color stops. Oh, okay. So by default, they are placed evenly. Good to know. If no gradient direction arguments provided, it arranges colors from top to bottom. Okay, it's asking us just to remove this. Now you'll apply a gradient to the blue marker, this time using HSL. Property to background. Pass the HLS, just make this a linear gradient. Cell, alright, we have to change this as well. 76, 16. As a second color argument, pass in the HSL function with values 223 for hue, 90% for saturation, 90% for lightness. Second color argument. So 223, 90%, 60%. And as the third color argument, 240, 56%, 42%. Now that the markers have the correct colors, it's time to build the marker sleeve. Start with the red marker. Inside the red marker div element, create a new div. Okay, back to HTML. Time to build the marker sleeves. Needs a class of sleeve. Create a new CSS rule that targets the class sleeve. Set the width property to 110px and the height property to 25px. Sleeve. Yep, sleeve. Just like this. Width 110px. Height 25px. We still don't have a sleeve. Set to make the color look more realistic. Give the sleeve a transparent white color. Background color white. Opacity, yep. It's talking about drinking glass. Opacity is basically transparency. 0 being fully transparent. Okay. Opacity 0.5. Fuck. Another way to set the opacity. What? The alpha channel. Inside the sleeve, we'll remove the. Okay. Okay. RGBA. Basically, it's just telling us we can do this in one line of code. And sleeve rule, use the RGBA function to set the background color pure white, 0% opacity. Okay. Like that, right? Nice, okay. Oh, pure white. Yep, like that. Your sleeve is looking good. Thank you. But it would look better, even better, if it was positioned. If it was positioned. More toward the right. But it would look even better if it was positioned more toward the right side of the marker. One way to do that is to add another element before the sleeve to push it to the right. Add a new div with the class cap before the sleeve div element. Okay. Div class cap. Cap. Width 60px. Height 25px. It looks like your sleeve disappeared, but don't worry, it's still here. What happened is that your new cap div is taking up the entire width of the marker and is pushing the sleeve down to the next line. This is because the default display property for the div elements is block. So when two block elements are next to each other, they stack like actual blocks. For example, your marker elements are all stacked on top of each other. To position two div elements on the same line, set their display properties to inline block. Okay. Create a new rule to target both the cap and sleeve classes. Cap, sleeve, cap, sleeve. I think it's like that. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a comma. Set display to inline lock. Display. Oh, I see. It's supposed to be. Oh. Dot cap. Dot sleeve. Maybe dot dot. That would make sense. Inline block. Okay, that makes sense. It's only in HTML, I think, that you get these like weird, you know, no comma, no separating thing. In the last project, you learned a little bit about in the last project, you learned a little bit about borders and the border color property. All HTML elements have borders, though they are usually set to none. By default, with CSS, you can control all aspects of an element's border and set the border on all sides, or just one side at a time. For a border to be visible, you need to set its width and style. Add the border left property with a value of 10px. Okay. Border left width. Yep, we can see that it did that. In the sleeve CSS rule, add the border left style property with the value solid. Okay. Add the border left color property with the value black. Border left color. Let's just do black. In the sleeve CSS rule, replace the border left width, border left style, and border left color properties with border left shorthand property. Border left color. No. Border left. NPX solid black, like that. See, now it has no space again. What the hell? I mean, no commas. Yeah. Man, these past couple days have been pretty fucked up. Like, been sick. My flatmate is sick. That's why he came into, like, knocking my door and stuff. But take it in stride. Take it in stride, bro. Some days, some weeks, you feel up, you feel down, you get sick, you feel healthy, feel motivated, not motivated. Know that bad times will pass and cherish the good times when they're around, because they won't be here forever, Your marker is looking good, but to make it look even more realistic, you can change the border style to double solid borders. For the border left shorthand property, change the border style value from solid to double. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. Looks like a Crayola. The black color of your border looks pretty harsh against the more transparent sleeve. You can use an alpha channel to lower the opacity. Okay, let's make it RGBA instead. 0.000 and 0.75. Yeah, okay. Awesome. Your red marker is looking good. Now all you need to do is add the caps and the sleeves to your other markers. Add a cap and sleeve to both the green and blue markers. You can just copy the developments from the red marker and paste them into the other two markers. Hold on. Yep, okay. So we're just gonna do this real quick. Just like that. Shift up. Yep, okay. The last thing you'll do is add a slight shadow to each marker to make them look even more realistic. The box shadow property lets you apply one or more shadows around an element. Here's basic syntax. Here's how the offset x and offset y values work. Both offset y and offset x and y accept number values in pixels and other CSS units. Positive value moves shadow right, shadow left. Moves the shadow down. Okay, this is very straightforward. That just has a lot of text, but it's basically saying if you do box shadow, it takes these three parameters, makes a shadow. You can offset it horizontally, vertically. You can also choose color for the shadow. You can also use an optional spread radius value to spread out the reach of the shadow. More on that later. Just like Photoshop. Start by adding a simple shadow to the red marker. Oof. Box shadow 5px 5px red. Your red CSS rule should have okay, the semicolon was needed there. You added simple red shadow around your marker. That's 5 pixels to the right and 5 pixels down. But what if you wanted to position your shadow on the opposite side? You can do that by using negative values for offset x and offset y. Update the values for the box shadow property and set offset x to minus 5px and offset y to minus 5px. Notice that the edges of the shadows are sharp. This is because there is an optional blur radius value for the box shadow property. If a blur radius value isn't included, it defaults to 0 and produces sharp edges. The higher the value of blur radius, the greater the blurring effect is. Okay, it's telling us to add a box shadow, and then 5px, and then blur radius. Wait. One thing I just realized. No, that doesn't work. One thing I just realized is like the way I'm writing it now, like it goes offset x, y, and then blur radius. What if I wanted to just do blur radius? So I'll probably look it up now, to be honest. Claude AI. How do I specify frickin' the parameters for box shadow, i.e. blur radius? What if I wanted to specify only off? Huh. Okay. So you actually have to go through all of them. What the hell? That's crazy. Okay. Interesting. And green for color. What am I doing? Green. Like blur radius, spread radius. Practice by adding a 5-pixel shadow there are clear on the blue marker. Zero 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 5px and then blue. Now that you are familiar with the box shadow property, you can finalize shadows, starting with the one for the red marker. Update this offset 0 0 20px. 0 0 20px 0 color red. Next, update the color value of the red marker's box shadow. I can make it alpha. 83, 14, 14, 0.8, so it's semi-transparent. Update values for the box shadow. 0, 0, 20. 20. Spread radius 0 as well. Okay, then I'm just gonna, it's fine, I'll just write all of it. 0, 0, 20px 0. For the green marker's box shadow property, replace the named color with a hex color code. Use the values 3b for red, 7e for green, 20 for blue, and cc for the alpha channel. 3b, 7e, 20 cc. Finally, for the blue marker's box shadow, replace the named color with the HSLA function. Box shadow property. HSLA 223, 59%, 31%, 0.8. Nice! We just finished. Project complete, I guess. One zero three 54. Yep, so this is what we built. We've built some markers in CSS. You know, nothing super fancy, but just simple tasks like this, you know. Really all it was is we created the title, we created the header, well, yeah, header 1. We really just used div blocks, literally just div blocks to create and style like some markers. We basically just drew one marker, figured that out, encased things within the marker. So we have the container, we had the background, the marker, and then we had the cap and the sleeve. The cap, sleeve. Looks kind of weird now that I'm looking at it. This doesn't look very nice. I would have preferred if this was like solid white or something. But yeah, and then we just styled them. You know, if you look at styles.css, we had the container, we had the marker, we had the cap. Yeah, okay. This is a marker. This is a cap. This is a sleeve. Then we said if it's cap and sleeve, make them inline. And then we just did red, green, blue. Super easy. You know, break it down, explain it. Feynman technique. What else is there to say? And yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I started doing this Let's Learn Free Code Camp because I wanted to do more math, but I realized, like, oh fuck, like, there's more to computer science and data science than just math. Like, I kind of need to develop things somewhat equally. So, yeah, I finished another task of Free Code Camp today. Um, when I have the stamina and the work capacity to do more, I might either do another series or just extend the average duration of each Let's Learn Free Code Camp so I can code more, because coding is really important. It's one of those like very arcane things which also pay a lot of money. But anyways, thank you for watching episode 3 of Let's Learn. I will upload another video tonight. Actually, I need to shoot a math video because I'm behind uploading schedule as usual. I'm gonna shoot the next episode of speedrunning math. Then I will come back and shoot another episode of Let's Learn tonight. So, yeah, thanks for watching.